Yeah,
Welcome back to Breakfast, 7:35. Joining us now to go through some of the day's headlines, the editor of Susan Holder. Hello to you again, guys. We had a fantastic round last time. More of the same, please. No pressure, Suze. We're coming to you first.
You'll like this one. You'll like
a nice showbiz story. Corrie's set tour upsets visitors by going cashless.
Yeah, it's more than a showbiz story, isn't it, really? It's about it's about the cashless society, which we're all kind of railing against, to be honest, because it makes life so difficult for people who don't have cards or don't want to use their card for every little purchase. And apparently, the Coronation Street tour, which is a tour where you can go around the set. I used to work at Granada, and they've always run this tour, and it's very popular, and it is really worth going and seeing the kind of behind the scenes of how they make Coronation Street.
Yep.
But apparently now, the tour itself is £35, but you can't buy anything when you're there, from a cup of tea to souvenirs, unless you've got a card. They're banning all cash.
That's naughty.
And the Payment Choice Alliance's person, Ron Del Nevo, has said, I don't know how he knows this, but he says that Ina Sharples will be raging from her grave.
She would.
Now, I've had to explain to Tom who Ina Sharples is.
Oh. Yeah.
So I've said she's a standard kind of northern battle axe in a hairnet, so he's got the kind of imagery there.
Yep.
But I presume Ina Sharples I probably would. And actually, maybe a team of battle axes is what we need to defeat this kind of scourge of society.
I haven't been on one of these tours. You have.
Yeah.
What's the demographic? Do you get quite a few older people that might not have smartphones?
Yes, I think you
in?
would. I think it's exactly true. Yeah. Actually, I think the kind of people who would go on a Coronation Street tour probably would be. I mean, there's all sorts, obviously, but you probably would get quite a lot of people of pensionable age and people, you know, who just don't have those kind of even if you have a card, do you want to pay for a cup of tea or a bottle of water on your card? I mean, your statement is just like miles long when you do that kind of thing. Also, it's very hard to keep track of what you're doing.
I don't like looking at my bank statement because it's just pub.
It's a nice potted history.
Yeah, that's just me. But Tom, on a serious point, you know, this kind of erosion of cash is gathering apace, and if it's reaching places as far-flung as the Corrie set tour, it's becoming something that a lot of people are feeling quite cross about.
Oh, definitely. And I think it's one of those things where just because, say, the vast majority of people, or at least the kind of, you know, most people can kind of bump along with this, they can adapt, whatever. There's always going to be that proportion of the population who can't. It's like a similar discussion about ticket offices at train stations and things like that. Just because it's straightforward in theory doesn't mean it's straightforward in practice, particularly if you're a little bit older, particularly if you work with cash day to day. There's all sorts of things which just don't get thought about when someone in a boardroom somewhere dreams up some great idea that we can go cashless. It doesn't.
Well, they think it's keeping it simple, don't they? They think they're horrendous if we've got to have cash tills and have to give change and things like that. That's the bother they don't want.
I love that theory about it's all so simple. It's all so simple until something goes down.
Absolutely.
Then nothing works. How is that simple? How is that simple?
I wouldn't fancy 25 Ina Sharples desperate for a cup of tea. You know, he couldn't pay.
No, but that is what we should do. We should put on our hairnets.
I bet you've never heard of Ina Sharples.
No, I had to have Susan explain.
You had to Google it.
Susan. Who were the
I've done a big impression in the green room.
Ina Sharples and Minnie Caldwell.
Yes.
Hilda Ogden.
Hilda Ogden.
Yeah, of course,
Stan. Eddie Yates.
I mean, Elsie Tanner was the more glamorous version of a battle axe.
Absolutely,
But,
Golden days
Oh, they
of
don't
Corrie.
make soaps like that anymore, do they?
I don't know. I mean, Corrie still has quite strong
Yes, it
women
has,
characters. Isn't it? That
and I
isn't
imagine
stock
it's
in trade.
great fun because you actually go to the cobbled street, don't you?
Yes,
and you can
you do,
have your picture taken, your selfie taken outside the Rovers Return.
It was on the one side of the Manchester Ship Canal. Now it's on the other because it's gone to Media City. So it's not the original that you would go to.
But it still looks the part.
But it was but it is it's obviously been recreated very faithfully with cobbles.
Can you buy a beer in the Corrie bar?
No, it's a set. It's not real.
But if you go to the Harry Potter one,
you can buy butterbeer.
You can buy butterbeer.
My husband saved the cobbles in the 40th anniversary live episode. Noddy Holder was the first celebrity guest they had starring in Corrie, and his role was to arrive at the last minute with a piece of paper. I don't know what the piece of paper was, but something that he could wave about, and it saved the cobbles because they were going to be ripped up.
Wow!
So Noddy Holder saved the Coronation Street
cobbles.
That's
a wonderful story.
Where are they now?
Well, they're on the street.
They're still there. But they were going to pull them up and put tarmac down instead.
Nice one, Nod. Sweet. Tom, the Sunday People, a strange place I felt for Keir Starmer to give his exclusive on the opening day of the Labour Party conference, but an interesting one that's come into in the Mail, beg your pardon, they're having a pop, an assault on drivers. This is the theory that Angela Rayner said, that ULEZ schemes won't just be in London, they will go to every town across Britain. What's the latest on this?
So this story is pointing out that Labour's National Policy Forum has a proposal before it in the EVA conference, which is looking at essentially emulating what Wales has started to introduce.
Yeah.
So obviously they've introduced their 20-mile-per-hour limits, but also they've given themselves powers which could open up questions around kind of road charging and all of these different sorts of zones. Obviously, Mark Drakeford is very into clamping down on drivers taking money away even from new road projects. Now, this is a little bit speculative insofar as it's a proposal which makes reference to what Wales are doing, but it does raise that question, which is whilst after the Uxbridge by-election where Labour famously kind of snatched defeat from the jaws of victory on the basis of the ULEZ, it seems, more than anything else, they're in this difficult position because a lot of their other prominent politicians, particularly in devolved assemblies and elsewhere around the country, are very in favour of these kinds of schemes. Keir Starmer, at best, is trying to look both ways on this issue, as he likes to try to do on many issues. Yeah. But at some point, they're going to have to take a position, and it's quite clear to me that they're probably going to be more drawn towards pleasing people in the kind of metropolitan centres, where a lot of their vote is, as well as their own politicians and representatives, and just trying to hope that people don't notice. But this is going to become such a big issue for people, particularly, as you say, it spreads out not just from London but around the country.
Yeah, like here's Susan there tutting away.
Yeah, sorry.
Because you completely get the fact that it's fine and well to put transport policies across if you're a cyclist in Zone 1 of London, but meanwhile in the real world, where you live, you depend on your car. And the Labour Party, I think, just have had so many positions on where they're going to stand on ULEZ schemes. What do we believe?
No, well, we can't believe anything. And particularly the line, he's looking both ways. Keir Starmer is, the many faces of Keir Starmer, he can look in 360 directions most of the time, I think, because he has no idea which way to jump to make the best kind of idea. And the way he ought to jump on anything, obviously, is just to say what you think and to say what you want to do and to say what your principles are. But on this, I just think they've discovered, haven't they, there's a new way to squeeze the motorist for more money.
And
once they've realised how much money they can make, why is anyone ever going to stop doing that? That's a real danger we're in now.
£500 million Sadiq Khan is taken every year in London, and I think a lot of politicians are eyeing that and licking their lips.
Yes. Well, I was with somebody last week who actually worked in Boris Johnson's office when he was Labour mayor, and when he was London mayor, not Labour mayor, and he said there's no way they would have brought in what they brought in now, because they understand that keeping London in particular moving, or any city moving, is really the best way to actually not have congestion and to not have so much toxic air, and what actually is happening now is just defeating all of that.
OK, let's very quickly look, Susan, at the idea that Labour is trying to think whether it's possible to bring back student grants.
Well, yes, which I would be really, really pleased about, because I've always thought that charging students to go to university is a terrible idea. But can we get... Let's have a little poll down there. What do you think the Labour think? How do you think Labour will fund...
Well, they've already taxed non-doms to put £1.5 billion back into the NHS.
Oh, no. They're just going to charge the richer students' parents more.
Rich with their parents?
Well, richer students will have to pay more. So it says it's actually going to hit the middle-class graduates. So they're going to expect that if you've got a ceiling on where your parents... Because it's all about what your parents earn, isn't it? You were always means-tested for kind of a grant in the old days.
That just seems ridiculous.
Well, levying a larger student loan...
I shouldn't be that biased. But look, what I'm saying is I had a full grant. I came from a very working-class background. In fact, I got a National Coal Board grant on top of my full grant. I could never have afforded to go to university without a grant, and I've repaid that many, many times in tax over the years. I'm for the idea of grants for the poorest students to have equality of opportunity.
Were grants always means-tested?
They were.
They were. I didn't get a full grant, and I was actually in a single-parent family at the time, and there was no way we met it. We met it financially. I should have got a full grant, but I did a journalism course, and they said that was actually a vocational thing that only rich people kind of did, which I could never understand. So they said, because if you're choosing journalism, then you must be able to afford it. So I just went to college. I did a 75% grant and lived on it. I didn't get anything top. My parents meant to top it up, and didn't. But that's how it was in the old days. But I still think that's a better system than what we've got now.
But it just seems to me, Tom, that there's half a good idea in this. And that is, you know, the Labour Party should be the party of equality of opportunity. It should be the party of the working classes. It should be helping the poorest. But then they flip it by taxing rich students. Again, it just I think sends out two messages.
No, it does, and I think it's difficult as well because Labour are going to have such a weird relationship with the question of higher education and universities because they've got us into this mess by vastly expanding universities.
Correct.
By this 50% target, by completely neglecting vocational skills. It's got into a situation where even the people who do end up... I particularly feel for the kind of bright working class kids who end up at university now to find that the degree that they've got is worth so much less than it would have been previously. And then also for the working class kids whose talents lie elsewhere, desperately need more forms of vocational training and aren't getting it. So it's nice to see that Labour are reopening this question, but not in this muddled way that they seem to approach it.
I mean, putting it up to something in excess of £20,000, and then how on earth is any job that you get... There's no correlation now, I don't think, between going to university and what kind of job you get anywhere. I think that's absolutely been smashed. And it is because too many people are going, and it has devalued it completely while they're paying through the nose.
Yeah, rather than this, wouldn't it be a better idea to just throw their support completely behind the idea of more and more apprenticeships?
Yes,
apprenticeships that really mean something and that give you a job at the end of the day.